Welcome to the podcast with your favorite cash flow guys, Mike and Blaine. Giving you the best advice while having a beer. When you're running a business, there are problems every day. Let Mike and Blaine help you out and guide your way. Cheers to the good times with Mike and Blaine for business, beer, and BS.
Hey, it's Mike and Blaine. You're listening to another episode of Mike and Blaine and Business, Beer, and BS. I'm Mike Blaine, also known as Cashflow Mike. That is Blaine Birch from Dry Run. What's up, man? I just saw you.
I was just going to say, it's weird to see you on the screen again after having a beer with you as we watched the Super Bowl.
Yeah, right? We did the Super Bowl together. We were together. We've been together like 3 times in our whole lives.
Yeah. I know, it's crazy. It's just insane. Well, yeah, we saw each other a few times over the weekend, but yeah, it's amazing how long we've known each other and have only really hung out a few times in person. So I'll have to up the number pretty soon.
I don't know. We've been doing pretty good though. I mean, once we started, it's been, maybe not every year, but almost every year.
Almost every year, mostly because you're coming out my way. I know you're busting my chops for not coming out yours. Well, I'll have to remedy that at some point here.
And I got that big hurdle to get up to Canada. Got a big hurdle to get up there. It's my travel buddy.
I know. It's
got a fear of Canadian border.
Yeah, well, and I don't blame her. So it's not. That's definitely a bit of an issue, but hopefully we can come up with a reason to get together real soon. I think it kind of seems like us coming to San Antonio sounds probably like more fun than you guys coming to Edmonton. Like, I'm not sure Edmonton is quite as lively as San Antonio, but I guess I shouldn't say that because it's a great city, but I've never been to San Antonio. So maybe that's why.
Edmonton? How many people live there?
It's about 1.6, I think, something like that.
So it's even bigger than San Antonio.
Yeah, it's not small. Like, that's Metro Edmonton. It's not. It's grown quite a bit, and it's still growing really fast. And so I heard Calgary. I think Metro Calgary has actually surpassed 2 million. And Edmonton and Calgary used to be almost the same size, so they're growing even faster. It's amazing how fast they're expanding out.
What's funny is I was there. I don't know. I guess now it's almost been 8-9 years. I didn't feel like Calgary was that big. I don't know why. I mean, maybe it was the airport. It's kind of a tiny little airport for the size of the city. I don't know what it was. I thought it was small.
Yeah. Well, and both cities, their airports are kind of rapidly expanding. Boy, if you haven't been there in 8 or 9 years, the number of towers that have gone up in downtown Calgary and quite a few in Edmonton, but not to the same pace, I guess, as Calgary. The amount of condos and towers that are everywhere now is quite something.
Yeah. Courtney will say you can always tell the status or the state of a city by the number of cranes in the sky.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. So
it's very true.
It was funny. Back when I was young, the folks in Galesburg, I grew up in Galesburg, Illinois, big railroad town. They used to be able to determine the state of the economy by the number of cars on a train.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
That's also, you have to just sort of say, probably more fun to count cranes than to sit there and count train cars going by.
Yeah, but in Galesburg there for a while, you couldn't get out of downtown or into downtown without crossing the track, and there wasn't the bridges over it, so you had to wait. That was a legitimate excuse in Galesburg to be late somewhere. Like, I got to stop by train. And, if you ever got one, believe it or not, you have nothing else to do or had nothing else to do in the 70s and 80s than count cars. You didn't have anything else to do in the car. Right? You didn't have a phone to play on. You didn't have an email to check. You just counted cars. And if you got to 100, it was a big deal.
That's kind of funny because we get stopped at a railroad track. Maybe, I don't know if it'd be once a year, probably more like once every 2 years. There's one intersection there's a railroad track where you can get stuck, right? So pretty rare. But I do recall when I was younger, like when I was a kid and growing up, we would count the cars. And I realized the last probably 10 years, I've never counted cars. Well, it's because you got your radio going and your screens going and all of that. And I'd never thought of that, but that, totally makes sense. Tracks.
Yeah, that's funny. All right. So if you're wondering what the hell's going on this first time you listen to us, this is Mike and Blaine Business, Beer, and BS. that was a fair amount of BS to get the show started, but we also like to start off, by thanking the folks that support the show. We call them our beer sponsors, and it is the best $5 you'll ever spend because it is a living $5. It persists forever. As long as this is on the internet, so do you. So
Exactly.
if you want to spend $5 and be like somebody like Karen Hairston, who is one of our Amazon bestseller sponsors, and she even before the year starts, re-ups for the whole year. But here's what she does. Amazon bestseller. She wrote a book called Stop Growing Broke, Start Growing Profit, because she is a cash flow expert up in Michigan. And well, if you need any type of cash flow help for your business, or you need somebody to come speak to your event up in Michigan or otherwise, contact her. She will tell you all about cash flow. It's 3S Smart Consulting in Michigan, Karen Hairston.
And as always, going back years now, neighbor Pat. And if you actually caught last week's show, or you actually could catch it on YouTube, you'll see Pat was sitting in that chair right behind Mike, waving. And if you wanted to see the cameo of Pat, just go check out last week's episode on YouTube, and you'll be able to see him right there. So thanks again, Pat, for all the support.
Yep. And then we got the biggest LSU fan on the planet. By the way, we got a package this week, from Devin. We got a package here at the house. He's done it at least a couple years, maybe even more years in a row than that, a king cake. It's Mardi Gras, right? So Mardi Gras is the last big party before Lent, before Easter. And they got this thing called a king cake, and it's kind of a rainbow type cake, but it's like, it's very tasty, very sugary, cinnamony, all that type of stuff. And then you hide a baby in it, right? There's a little baby thing in it. And whoever gets the baby actually, has the best luck, I guess.
Okay. This is all new to me. It sounds like you're making it up on the spot, but because it's from Devin, I'm going to trust you.
Hey, I live in San Antonio, not New Orleans or not Louisiana, so if I'm fucking it up, sorry. But there is one thing that we always do here at the house is that once it's cut and you use a knife to cut it, you have to leave the knife in the box with it. You can't take the knife out. It's got to stay there. So just know that. That's one of the things.
Okay. So
that's a weird, superstition, tradition. I don't know why. I get bacteria. They like bacteria.
I don't know, but you got to really eat that cake quick, because if you go the next day, that knife's going to be all caked and dried and gross. And
yeah, it's pretty big, but it doesn't last but a few days anyway.
Okay, yeah.
But
I don't know if I want to use the same knife over and over again. That seems kind of gross, but.
Well, you're going to start making people mad over there. You know what you just did? You became the topic of the show, right? The topic of the show was mini drama, big engagement, because I'm convinced, right? So I've seen enough of this now, and you went viral once for doing it, right? You went viral. And I'm like, why did he go viral, right? We've been watching it. I'm watching why do I watch things? What happens is we thrive. We thrive as people, me, you, other people that get on TV or on their phone and scroll. We need on social media a villain in 10 seconds. The whole thing, it will go viral if you create a villain in 10 seconds, somebody to argue with or to figure out what happened or to judge in 10 seconds. What do you think?
I think it's a sad state of affairs, but unfortunately true. But we're also going to dive into a little bit about how businesses have failed miserably at doing this, and how you can actually protect your business and make sure you're making the right decisions, because it's really easy to hop on a bandwagon and get a cheap click. But you and we've talked about this before on the show, how annoyed I get at clickbait when I see an article title that I'm just like, it's clickbait bullshit. Or if you read the article and it's completely devoid of what the topic is, I unfollow. I get rid of that stuff so quick. And I think that's the risk, that it's easy to get people maybe to click on stuff, but does it persist and does it cost you as well?
Yeah. Well, and everybody talks about the algorithm. I'm convinced that the algorithm does not reward truth.
No, the algorithms, yeah.
It rewards reaction. It rewards emotion, not content. You could have the best stuff out there. You could be telling the best story, educating the best material. and you don't get rewarded. It's boring to the internet.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
algorithm
It's
wants drama.
well, in the algorithm, I think it's looking for engagements and that. And so people kind of make their bed in a lot of ways. Before we dive fully into that topic, though, we always feature our beer, and I almost missed that today. What beer are you drinking today?
I have. All right. First of all, remember neighbor Pat dropped by some pint glasses,
Oh
right?
yeah, nice.
So he dropped by some. These are from BJ's. He's his son-in-law Sean, who's been a sponsor of the show before, is a kitchen manager at BJ's, so he always kind of hooks us up a little bit. But I went to the Irish Red, a neighbor
Oh, yeah.
Pat's special, right? So he always gives me a little bit of a growler to get me going, and it even has a sound this time. Let's make sure it doesn't spill all over the electronics.
Nice job, Pat. That looks terrific.
Oh, wait, yeah,
I
wait
do wanna
till you
try
see
that
the
one.
color of this thing. This night, it's beautiful. Pat always delivers,
Oh, that looks
right?
terrific.
That is a
That's just
good looking amber right there. So
that is a
Irish Red,
nice color.
Irish
Good
Red.
stuff.
Yeah, what you got?
All right. So we have a fridge full of Drecker right now, so I had to grab another Drecker, but we had some other ones, but boy, this just felt like it just so much hit the topic. And it is Drecker Zombie Brains. And it's a double fruited smoothie sour. And it's got this really wicked looking skull can. But the zombie brains, I'm like, oh my God, that is bang on what we've turned into with all our doom scrolling, right?
Did you showed me that before when I was at the house? Maybe you showed me that can.
I may have. Well, I did a different Drecker last week, and it was different, but it had a probably a skull on it as well. I think all the Dreckers kind of do have something kind of like that. So, but it is a tasty beer. Like I shouldn't even say it's almost doesn't seem like beer. It's almost like some kind of cocktail. It is. It reminds me. Remember when you were a kid and you'd have the punch in the punch bowl, and it would be made out of, well, at least where we were, you'd have probably like there'd be sherbet in there and ginger ale and all this stuff, and you'd have this really thick sweet. That's this in beer form, and it's yeah, it's nostalgic and quite tasty.
Yeah. So you made a comment about businesses that had done something, you know, maybe crossed the line, maybe got in trouble. Because remember, I said the algorithm is like a drama dealer, right? It's going to give you emotion. It's not going to give you wisdom. It gives you somebody to disagree with. I really do think people will scroll past anything they agree with and stop on what they might disagree with.
I don't think it's quite that black and white. Yeah, like, because I've the reason if I stop in my feeds and I see something that bugs me, what I stop for is to filter it out. Like I don't even I don't get past clicking on it to go, I'm filtering it out. Don't feed me this shit. And I do that over and over again until it builds the algorithm up to just feed me stuff that I'm interested in. So a lot of my feeds, if you look, it's beer and guitars and watches and all that, cars and all that. And the other stuff, if it sneaks in, it actually angers me, not the topic. It angers me because it is snuck in and they're putting this bullshit in front of me. And part of it is because it is there just to enrage people. And we've seen already that a lot of the social media online that is made to make people angry is from across the other side of the globe, positioned as North American content, but it's from across the globe to sow discontent. And it's like hook, line, and sinker. And it just people eat that stuff up, unfortunately.
Hey, so I think that's the evolution of reality TV when it comes right down to it, right? Remember the real world, when people, stop being roommates, whatever it is, start being real, or I forget what it was, where the line was. That kind of started us off on wanting to see the conflict, wanting to see the drama. And it's evolved to they try to make everything into a reality TV show. I don't care if you're baking a cake, right? We're not there to see how beautiful the cake is. Yeah, that's a nice thing, but we want to see somebody struggle. We want to see somebody, fail even, right? And it just, I don't know why businesses want to fall into that, but that's what I think the new scrolling is. It is the evolution of reality TV, where we don't want to, spend an hour waiting for drama or watching all that too much drama. I'm good with 15 seconds of it.
Yeah. Well, and I think to me, I think like for myself, there's a difference between a conflict and competition. And so I really enjoy watching competition. I don't enjoy the conflict, especially when it's engineered conflict. That really bugs me, right? And so, like there's some, like you said, cooking shows. Some cooking shows, they're built to generate conflict in a guise of a competition. And then there's other ones that are competition, but there isn't a whole lot of conflict. And it's like Iron Chef, higher level of competition and quality, low on the conflict scale. And that's the type of content that I would tend to find interesting. I'm not sure that's the norm because there's so much of this, I don't know, rage posting or whatever they would call it. There's so much content out there that is set to build on conflict and make people angry. I think the only ones that benefit from that are the ones where that is their job, that is their business. They somehow generate dollars directly from that. I think if you were any other type of business and you try and jump on a bandwagon of doing that, you will likely pay for it. And you know what? I got a perfect example of how these things don't necessarily translate, because it's really easy. The simple view is clicks. As long as you get clicks, you're good. As long as you get clicks, you're good. Mike, you were just talking about a post, the Mike and Blaine show post that went viral a month and a half ago here. I think last time you checked, we had 1.3 million views, tens of thousands of likes and engagements and everything else. How many leads do you think between you and I we got from 1.3 million views of that content?
I don't know how many is going to end up, but I did get about 100 new viewers or new followers. I mean, think about that. I got like 100 more people want to follow.
Yeah. So out of 1.3 million, you got 100 people following you. And how many of those 100 people are actually potential customers of yours versus, oh, it's kind of interesting, click follow?
Probably none. I mean, if I'm honest, there's probably none.
Yeah. And I would say that for Dry Run, if somebody actually went all the way through the thread and found us somehow, zero. Dead zero. And so this is where I think it's the best example of over 1 million views had virtually no value to us as a business and to you as a business. I have got leads that have come in the door, booked a meeting with me that have been like literally in our funnel, people looking for our type of product that came to us because they saw the Mike and Blaine show on LinkedIn. Yeah. Or on YouTube, most likely, actually, frankly, LinkedIn. And we're talking, sometimes we might have like just a handful of views, but they're the right people. And that makes all the difference. Absolutely all the difference.
See, that's where this drama is like a trap for businesses, because I liked how you use the word rage, because rage works, right? But it attracts the wrong people, right? You're going to build an audience, but they're only going to show up for the fight. They're not showing up for what you actually do. So I started calling this rage stuff. To me, it's almost like debt, right? It works pretty fast. If we did more of that, if we just tried to get people, or if you and I just fought, right? Think about all the ESPN or any of the shows that you see. It's two guys that are fighting, fight. Well, it works fast. People like to see that stuff, but it costs more later because it doesn't pay off, right? It's just, that's who you become. You become the guy that likes to argue. You become the guy that likes to fight.
Yeah. We did a couple episodes, like over 100 episodes ago, like we're talking a couple of years ago, probably now. We had an episode or two where we were exploring and testing out some new, well, what if we brought a little more drama in? And we just got a negative backlash immediately. And also, I didn't enjoy it at all. Like, I think it was completely wrong for our brand, wrong for, and that was just for our little show here. But to be able to say, how do we get people to translate from whatever content we're doing into people that would maybe engage with our business? That's a totally different question. And I don't, like I said, I think the businesses or the people that are generating money off of that conflict, that is their only product. That is their product. I'm not sure if you could ever build on a more of a traditional business, like get people to your restaurant or your store or your whatever through conflict like that. I just don't think it works.
Is that who you want to be? Think about what you just said. You didn't like it. I didn't like it. Our regular listeners didn't like it.
Didn't like it. No.
Right. So, I mean, is it manufactured? Is it like, I don't know. I mean, why would people do that? We tried to just come up with things that maybe you and I would disagree on. Not argue, just disagree. And our clients or our customers didn't like it.
They didn't like it. There was no rage. It was barely a disagreement, and it was just not fitting for us. And you know what? I still think that top quality content isn't built that way. That's a cheap thrill content. Like you've brought up Joe Rogan before, and I've caught some of his episodes too. And there's interesting topics that converse. I don't think I've ever seen true conflict on his show. Like I'm sure there is at times, but I don't even recall that. It's a conversation, right?
No, yeah, that's what's interesting about, like, we'll say his show is that I don't think he's trying to create controversial moments. He's trying to talk about things. He's just trying to have a conversation with somebody that maybe he's interested in. I think he said that before. Yeah, I'm interested in hunting, so I bring on hunters. I'm interested in UFC, so I bring on fighters. I'm interested in comedy because that's what I do. I bring on comedians. He's doing his thing on things that he enjoys. And if you enjoy the conversation, you'll like it. But then people pick out segments of it to create some controversy around it. And it's other people, right? It's like news stations that'll pull this thing out. And those are the folks that are trying to create the drama, because it's really hard for them to retain clients. Think about this, retain clients, because growing a client base online takes so much time. It takes a long time. Unless you're trying to go viral and you're trying to bring in rage and you're trying to create controversy. But I always look at people like that, like, hey, you don't want customers. You just want applause. You're not looking for business. You just want people to go, oh my God, you're so right. You're the best ever. And that pisses me off. It kind of does. It pisses me off a little bit.
Well, and I think it's a bit of that slippery slope where, you know, for even businesses that it sort of fits and they're trying to build off of a quick snapshot of anger or controversy, I don't know if it has any staying power whatsoever. I just don't know if it would ever be anything you could build on. Like, I think it's just very narrow business models where it works. So the question is, with content online, like, and I've said this before, you barely can't find a news, mainstream news or bloggers or whatever that are writing articles that aren't clickbait for the title, structured to kind of hook you, and oftentimes never cover what they promise, or that the actual details fall completely flat. And so you say, well, it's a cheap thrill, but is that a big part of what's eroded their business? Like, what if some of these news outlets had basically, now I'm putting this out there because I know it's not really true, but let's say a news outlet says, we're going to be completely impartial and we're going to write the news, and it's going to look at both sides or all sides that make sense of an issue, and we're going to cover it, and you're just going to have access to information. Would that actually have a bigger place? Like, would they have kept their traditional viewers, and would people have come back to them after exploring the garbage? But they didn't do that. So I think everyone's lost credibility, and there is no place where people trust to go to get just what they would consider the facts.
Well, you know, there's been so many studies about what captures and retains people's attention, right? I mean, Donald Miller wrote a book called Story Brand, and he just talks about how, you know, you got to get somebody's attention in 9 minutes in a movie, you know, and I think it's probably half of that for, you know, a sitcom or something like that, and even less online. But what they're missing is that, you know, in his thing, there's always some conflict up front or somebody you're cheering for up front. I mean, like the the story he uses a lot is like the movie starts, the bride runs out of the wedding, right in the middle of the wedding, crying on the sidewalk, gets picked up. I mean, and that's the whole start. It's like 4 or 5 minutes of this. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be beautiful. And she just breaks down and boom. So now you're wondering the whole time, holy shit, what happened? Because you thought it was going one way and it went completely the opposite, right? Well, what I think he does there is he creates tension, right? Or not him. He's just trying to formalize what the formula is. But I think if you have a story, you have to create tension up front, not toxicity. How do you say that? Is that right? It not be
that's
toxic.
right.
It's not about hate.
Yeah.
It's about like tension. It's about the uncomfortableness of a situation that we all have felt at some point in time. So if you can create the tension, everybody gets drawn to the tension more so, I think, at least from a brand perspective, than something that's toxic.
Yeah, well, and I think what it comes down to is it's sort of a bastardized version of that, where, quite frankly, it's kind of amateurs or finding a cheap, easy way to. They say it's create tension. It's not. It's toxic or rage to try and bring somebody in, and I think the danger is you can see these, like you say, you can see online how many views these things are getting, like are over 1 million views on something. And I think the danger is some businesses will look at it and go, wow, we can follow that as a model. No, you can't. Don't do that. But it's tempting because they think, oh, if only we get these eyeballs, because the traditional thing is, I get 1 million eyeballs, and if only 1% comes to our website and buys. Yeah, that's not how it works at all, right? So it's easy to fall into that trap, I think.
Yeah, but I think you inadvertently, maybe accidentally fell into tension, right? Not hate, not negativity. You were just saying, I think it would be better if this happened rather than that. And it's in healthcare. So if you're interested in healthcare, go back, go look at the Mike and Blaine page, look for this, this clip, but you created tension. And, a couple of episodes ago, we talked about Mr. Beast, and that's all he does. He doesn't sell hate. He doesn't sell negativity. He sells suspense. He sells high stakes. If they do this, they get this, right? And we're all interested. That's still tension. That's not toxic.
Yeah, I think though that I think there is a disservice to creativity, and I totally agree with the tension and toxicity in that. But I do think there is things have become so formulaic. So even in where you're talking about creating that tension and doing these things, a lot of another danger is I think they've become so formulaic. And the thing that, as you're talking about some of this, that kind of popped into my mind is how rarely I watch a movie, or we go to a movie theater and watch a movie. And it's amazing. Like, the last movie we went to, and, you got your 5 trailers at the start of the movie. And it is amazing how much they've changed from probably the 80s and 90s. When you would see a trailer and you'd be like, wow, I want to see that show because there's some mystery. There's just something that hooked me and I want to see the show. Trailers today will go through the entire show, and I literally, you've all seen it. You've seen trailers where while you're watching the trailer that they literally showed you all of the mysteries and the surprises and the hooks in the trailer. And you get to the end, I'm like, well, I guess I don't have to see that movie because they literally gave me a 30-second book report that covered everything. That to me is so damaging, and I can't believe movie studios still do that. And they think maybe they have some data that says it works, but I cannot believe that they wouldn't have a better response by trying to entice people, like you say, create tension and bring them in. Don't tell them the punchline to the joke. That to me is like, why would I go and sit through it now?
Well, on the way back from Phoenix, I started a movie, right? Just like you might do on the plane. And it was one battle after another. You seen the ads for that? Leonardo DiCaprio?
Oh, sounds vaguely familiar. I didn't even recognize the name.
Well, first of all, it's like almost 3 hours long. So think about that. So I didn't finish it. I've only seen half the movie, and it's one of those movies where I like the story. I'm invested in the characters. I hate what they did in the beginning because there's murder involved. There's bombing of things. There's kidnapping. There's even if they're doing it for a cause, right? Even if you believe in their cause, when they knock out the power for a whole city, I don't like that, right? Because there's a whole bunch of people that are just watching TV, not knowing what the hell's going on, and now all of a sudden their power's out. It's because you don't like what the government does, right? So I'm like, I don't like all of what the cause is, but I'm invested in the characters to figure out, how it plays out, right? They've created enough tension. So I don't know how it plays out. If you hate my interpretation already, I'm invested in the story. I don't like what they're doing.
Yeah.
It's just the way I'm built, right? The way I'm built. But I'm thinking that's what it is today, is that now think about it. What you did in your viral clip is you just made a statement that made people pick sides. Do I like this way or this way? Like pharmacists or doctors, right? That's all you did. You made a statement. That's what they're doing in the movie. That's what most people do, but I don't think it's good for brands. I don't think brands have to make you choose sides that way in order to get customers. I think trust equals customers, not drama. That's just me. Revenue equals trust. That type of thing.
I don't think that's quite how. For those of you wondering about my clip, it wasn't do you like pharmacists or doctors? It was they should work together a bit more, and the responsibilities could shift a bit. It was a little different than that, but it annoyed people.
He said he hates one and doesn't hate the other. So go look at it.
So it really annoyed a lot of people, which still blows my mind, but it was kind of funny. But it's true. So if you're a business, the struggle, I think, is that you feel like you're competing if you're just putting up some information and saying, okay, here's what we do, here's how we help, here's how we support, here's how we do this, that. It feels like you're competing with all of this drama, and how do you cut through the noise? And I wonder if partially it's like trust yourself, trust that your market isn't that distracted by the noise that they're going to ignore you, even if you don't have all of this drama and all of this tension. I think that's the key.
That's like 3 times you said drama, and I'm sure everybody's pissed off about that because we say drama.
You sound like some big fancy New Yorker. Drama.
It's just drama, right? It's drama.
It's also drama, Mazda, pasta, and in Canada, it's drama, Mazda, pasta.
That's a New Yorker. That's the East Coast accent with the nasally. So let me ask you this: what's a video now that when you're scrolling, I know it not in your algorithm, you might have said no. What do you stop on though? What do you go? Kind of like it.
I will stop almost every time on what you can tell is going to be like a cute pet video. Dog, cat, bird, definitely. Always. There's one I've seen a whole series on last week where there's a cockatoo would march into a room where there's about 4 or 5 of these giant dogs that they have. And they'd all be sleeping, and then just like dogs would take off running, and you can see how proud the little bird was. Those can always stop me. Anything like if they're doing something crazy on a mountain bike, a BMX, a skateboard, I will always stop on like some stunt or something they're doing. So there's some things that'll catch me. None of these are like, I guess I shouldn't say they're not dramatic, but they're not mean, they're not angry, and they're just fun, right? They're just totally fun.
No, but that's what you like. You like tension. You like, what's that cat going to do? What's that dog going to do? Will he eat it if he doesn't make this jump? You still like the tension. You like the tension. You don't like the toxicity, right? And on occasion, I saw, mainly because I did 7 years as state trooper, occasionally I like those fight videos. I like people getting pissed at each other. I don't know why. I'll watch it just because I'm like, how would I that situation? like there's these things they call gym bros and gym Karens right now, right?
Okay.
And some of them, like being, videoed while they're doing their stuff, right? They're taking a video. And other people don't like it at all, don't want to be in the video, right? And they call them gym bros and gym Karens. But both of them get pissed at the camera. I'm like, wait a second. One of them gets pissed if they're taking I'm bench pressing whatever, they're 190 or whatever the hell they're pressing. Somebody's going to say, that math doesn't add up, Mike, because the bar is 35 pounds and they had this many plates on. I don't care what it is. But some of them get mad, like, hey, you stepped in my shot. They're getting mad that your video, or you messed up their perfect video that they could put online. The other ones, the Karens, are mad because you're videoing. I'm just here to do my shit. I don't want you to have your camera on me. Those type of arguments, because there's two type of arguments. One gets mad because you ruined my shot. The other one gets mad because they don't want any shots. Which one's right in a gym? And this is a business problem. If I was a gym owner, I'm like going, which one is right?
Well, and the I guess the challenge for the gym owner is my first gut is no cameras in the gym. Right. Like this is the private place. You don't need to have people you don't need to be filming yourself, and you don't have to have people that don't want to be broadcast. Right.
Let me push against that. Right. Because now maybe I'm your trainer, or maybe I'm trying to get the right form because I've been doing it wrong. And I can evaluate my exercise. I can evaluate my form, my thing. So why can't I film that?
But that's where I was going to lead to is the problem is you have ones that may not join your gym because they can't film. And so it's like a really difficult decision. And you can't, it never works to just add a ton of rules unless it's a very simple rule, either no phones or don't complain. It's really hard to say, don't catch anyone in the background. Okay, well, it's a freaking gym. There's only so many ways you can do this. All of it kind of makes me never want to go to a gym. I don't want to go there anyway. I'd rather be outside biking around or something, but it just sounds like a not great environment,
Well, I mean, from a legal standpoint, it's what's your expectation of privacy? My expectation of privacy is not when I'm lifting a weight in the middle of a gym that I pay for that's a public gym. Everybody in that gym can see me lifting the weight. There's no expectation of privacy. There's no expectation of privacy if I'm sitting in my car, because people can walk by and see me doing what the hell I'm doing in my car. If I'm in a shower in the gym, though, there's an expectation of privacy. I don't think that you should be videoing me while I'm changing clothes. I should have an expectation of this is a private space. That's how I make a distinction.
Okay. Yeah, but that's the issue is that's how you make a distinction, right?
No, that's how the law. It's not me. I learned that from the law, not me.
No, but like an expectation of privacy, if you are you're a professional athlete, you're going to want to be at a gym where it's like my expectation of privacy is people aren't filming me. And then, okay, here's one of the things that I think is a really big distinction that's changed dramatically. There's a really big difference between me seeing you lifting weights and me filming it and broadcasting it where millions upon millions upon millions of people can see, and maybe even me monetizing on my channel without the person, because let's say television used to always have to get, if you were going to broadcast somebody, you had to have releases. And that's why you see sometimes the blurred out faces and things, you have to have releases. You're not allowed to broadcast it. So sure, someone can be walking down the street, you can film them. I'm not allowed to broadcast it. And that's for TV where they might have 10,000 people looking at something. But millions upon millions of people viewing you and maybe even monetizing, that's where there's a big distinction of you can see me all you want, but posting it is, I think, where it goes. There's an expectation of privacy where
Yeah, that's right. I wasn't lifting weights for a million people.
Exactly. And so they could take it and say, okay, well, maybe I had some bad form or the weight slipped and it fell onto my chest or something. Next thing you know, it's online. Now I'm being ridiculed. People are going to see, like, they're going to find out who I am because They probably could through AI and look at your face and, okay, this is the person, this is who it is. America's Funniest Home Video type thing is actually paying for this, it's monetized, everything else. That is not the same as somebody else in the gym seeing me do something in the gym.
You made a critical distinction. Somebody sells it is one thing. Somebody just publishes it with no expectation of money. That's okay.
See, but that's the thing is that's, again, I think there's the distinction of whether someone made money off of it or not isn't the same. Like, I still think there's an expectation of privacy where you shouldn't necessarily be broadcast across the planet, something that is permanent on the internet. That to me, if you didn't post it, I still think there should be some level of expectation of privacy, especially when you're in a place where.
That's what I said. There's an
no, but you're tying it to commerce.
No,
you're tying it to dollars.
There's no expectation of privacy if you're out in the public. If you're in a gym, you're not in a private space. You're in a commerce space that is there for commerce. That is there as open.
If I've paid for a membership there and not everybody's allowed in there, that's not a public space anymore. That's not walking through the park. Right?
What if I'm also a member and I'm paying to be there and I want to video you?
That's what I'm saying is that there's got to be some lines drawn, because this is not the same as it was.
The lines are drawn
years ago.
They're already drawn in legal battles of anything that you do in a public space that's not your house, that's not a public bathroom or something like that. There's no expectation of privacy. And there's a legal definition. I would have to ask chat what it is right now. There's a legal definition of what is an expectation of privacy. And even through the windows of stuff is not an expectation of privacy. If you leave your windows open in your own house and people walk by and see you doing dumb shit, that's you broadcasting it out into my space where I'm here on my own legally on the street or on the sidewalk, and you do dumb shit and I see it, I can video it.
Yeah, no, I understand. First of all, we're getting very close to having the argument rage here. No, what I'm questioning is I understand it could be what's legal, but I'm questioning, is that morally right and should that be legally right? To me, there's a fundamental difference between being out in the public and seeing something and taking something and broadcasting it permanently online. And that's where bullying is happening to kids.
The difference is, should you or could you? Right? Should you? Oh, could you? Yes. Should you? Because you're a decent human being. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go, hey, did you see what he did? And I'm going to tell all my friends, and I'm going to, I am. That's probably me. I'm going to tell when I see you do something dumb, I'm going to tell, but I'm going to tell the people I'm close to. I'm not going to post it on the internet. Could I? Legally, yes. Right.
But I think there's a question there. And I think at some point that will cross a line and there'll probably be a different precedent set because the should you is you can't.
Not if there's freedom of speech. I can say, because it would be true. The thing is, I saw you do dumb shit. What could you complain? You did dumb shit in front of me.
Yeah, but is that freedom of speech? I could describe it is different than actually filming it, I think, and publishing it.
But it would be true. That's the thing. If it's true, it can't be like libel or slander or it's true. It happened. So don't do dumb shit. That's what I say.
I think that this is where it gets really clouded because of the damage that can happen both ways, right? That can be very damaging both ways.
Is this a difference between like American culture and Canadian culture? I'm just throwing it out there just in case anybody asks. Because I expect if I do something dumb, somebody's going to see it and they're going to make fun of me.
I don't know if it'd be a culture. I suspect there would be somewhat of a difference in culture. I think I do think culturally being down here, as much as we are and everything, I do feel like there's a difference in, I know the way you phrase it as should you or could you. I think there's a different gap in should I and what are the potential consequences versus I can, so I do. Damn the consequences, right? Especially if it's for someone else, if it's consequence for someone else.
That's an individual decision. And I'm going to judge you on your decisions. If you did it and I didn't think you should, just because you could, I might think you're a shit person. Man, nobody does that. No, why would you do that? Right? There's a consequence to that action that is not legal.
Yeah. Is there enough of one, I guess? Like, I don't think you can trust the general public because again, they see snippets, they see sound bites. They never see the entire context of anything either. I'm just saying, I'm not talking about the legalities or anything. I'm just saying that exactly what you said. Should you and could you? I think that there's a lack of judgment. The idea of a greater good is
Yeah.
no longer in
Yeah.
the society's makeup, where the greater good used to be a huge part of society's makeup, right?
I saw that today. When I saw it on TV today, I'm like, going, that's a lack of respect. It just is for another person. Doesn't matter who the person is. It's just disrespectful to talk to other people like that or treat other people like that. I try
And
not
so this it's a big way of circling back around to saying the should you or could you argument is one that you have to take very seriously with your business, because that's where you could get penalized because maybe your customer says exactly that. I don't think they should have done that. And it could really damage your reputation. And that's just trying to get kind of a quick
Yeah.
view or whatever. Right?
Totally right. Totally right. Yeah. The should and could. I mean, that's a legal battle. That's not what we should do as people. Right. You should do the right thing as a person. How would I want, would I want that out on the internet? Would I want to be talked to that way? Would I want to be any of those things? And I look at that from a business standpoint too, is how do I want people that see this video or this thing that I put out for my business to be portrayed? Because you're automatically going to eliminate some of your customers. Create a brand that maybe is not what you intended.
Yeah, for sure. Now, going back to like, it's amazing how far like this conversation went, right? And we were starting to talk about the gym. And so this does circle back to, is there a business opportunity for businesses to offer a safe, what they would say is a private space? So you can come and dine here and people won't be taking your picture, and you can come and work out at a gym here and people won't be taking your picture. So but that's part of what you're signing up for is, so, hey, I want to film myself working out. You're just going to have to go to a different gym because our clientele value being able to work out without being, filmed.
Some businesses that already have that type of clientele already deal with it that way. They have the back or the different entrance. They have it right to a private room. Public doesn't even know they're there most of the time. If you want a private experience, there's plenty of ways to get a private experience. When you go into the public, you should expect to be in the public. I forget what instructor at the Highway Patrol Academy said this, but it's the one sentence that has always stuck with me. And he says, the eyes of the public are always on you. Always. Doesn't matter. So, I mean, you'll be judged by what you do and what you don't do.
Yeah. And I think that's something that's within your control. What you do and what you don't do. What's out of your control is what's happened to you. And that's where I think that's where the should and could can get morally foggy. And again, that's something that, you as a business owner have to kind of predict, like, how does this affect? And I think it's more than just how does it affect the bottom line and do your customers care, but it's like what represents our culture in our business? How do we want to be perceived day to day, month to month, year to year? How should our team treat each other, treat our customers? So that you're building that culture up. And it's also not just about generating more customers, but it's also about creating an environment where people want to work for you and want to stick.
You made a real cool statement there. It says, it's about foggy morals. I'm like going, it's only foggy if you have foggy morals. If you have morals, if you have ethics, if you got, a heart that tells you exactly what to do, it's not foggy. It's super clear. You know it. You even know it when you do the wrong thing because it doesn't feel right.
But as I totally 100% agree. And as a business leader, it's up to you to make sure that that compass, like that template is laid over the culture of your business so that your team, your staff, everybody that comes in follows that same guideline, not because they may not have as much experience. They may have a crappy day. They need some sort of, this is North Star. This is how we operate. And this is how we do good by our customers and also by our team and by our community. And hopefully we start to see more and more businesses leading the way on, again, bringing back the idea of the greater good. So it's not just the quick buck. And I think too often people see businesses as they're driven by the quick buck. I think that's some, but I think it's few and far between.
Yeah. So we've done this 225 times. If you out there and this resonated with you, because this is a big deal, right? This is 225 episodes for us, but it's a big deal, a big discussion. If you need somebody to make a decision for you, go to foggymorals.com. Oh, that doesn't exist.
Oh, it probably does, but it's not ours. So don't go there. We don't know what it is.
But go to mikeandblade.com and say, I need help making this decision, and we're going to help you make it.
Or you can just go to mikeandblane.com and you can buy us a beer and we will mention you on the top of the show. Please like, subscribe, follow. This was actually probably one of our more dramatic episodes in quite a long time, but it was interesting. Got into some interesting areas, and I think it's the thing is of running a business and trying to figure out how do you promote yourself and stay on the right side of what your customers expect, your staff expect, and what most importantly, the way you want to portray your business. So it was a interesting conversation.
Another good one. Hey, thank you, beer sponsors, and thank you. Good to see you last week.
Yeah, this was so much fun seeing you in person. So looking forward to the next time.
Check out their website at mikeandblane.com. Then subscribe to the podcast and buy these guys a beer.